the poor and the wealthy, a gap that impacts everything from access to health care, to educational opportunity, to life expectancy. We see a coarsening of the American political life and an increasing distance between our government and the people. We live in a society that has still not granted equal treatment to all of its citizens, with ongoing mass incarceration of communities of color, particularly African Americans. We continue to see unconstitutional patterns and practices of racial bias in our policing practices and the use of force against unarmed African Americans and those who are mentally ill. We have yet to fix our broken immigration system, a situation which causes tremendous hardship on immigrant families and children. We continue to see virulent anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim sentiment in the arenas of politics and the media, as well as in some far-right religious circles. The anti-Sharia movement continues alive and well. However, without CAIR and other organizations such as the ACLU and the ADL, the movement would remain unchecked. There are many issues facing us, not the least of which is government secrecy, and the government knowing more and more about the people and us knowing less and less about our government. And without citizen oversight, democracy dies. All of these issues seem daunting, yet the complexity of modern American life requires the constant vigilance of highly educated and active citizens who do not relinquish their civic duties. As Americans, we must stay engaged. We must speak up and remain vigilant if we are to keep our republic and our participatory democracy. As Muslims, we are told that when we see something wrong, when we see an evil, we must try to change it with our hand. And if we cannot change it with our hand, we must try to change it by speaking out against it. And if we cannot change it through raising our voice, we must at least hate it in our hearts, yet that being the weakest of faith. As Muslims, like all people of faith and people of good conscience, we cannot shirk from our responsibilities and turn inward. As Muslims, we are commanded to be stewards of the earth and of God's creation. So we cannot stand down and be passive in the face of dire environmental and social problems facing our planet. Yet we continue to see the increasing militarization of conflicts. We continue to reap the horrors and collateral consequences of the war on terror, through which estimates now say 2 million people have met their deaths. We are living in a time when more than 51 million people have been forcibly displaced from their homes, and on a weekly basis, hundreds are drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, on the very doorstep of Europe, fleeing lands where weapons of war have for too long displaced plowshares. The continuing state of war in Afghanistan and instability in Pakistan have caused extreme hardship to the civilian population. The civil wars in Iraq, Syria, Libya, and now Yemen are pitting Muslims against Muslims. In Iraq, religious extremists are literally wiping away history and civilization in a kind of cultural genocide. For example, sacking the tomb of Prophet Jonah and the destruction of Nimrod and other Assyrian ruins. Increasingly, religious and ethnic minorities are bearing the brunt of violence, including the execution of Christians by the very people charged by God with their protection. I could speak more about the horrors and problems that we are facing in the Middle East. But what I want to say is that as America is the most powerful country on earth in terms of military might, economic might, human capital, social capital, civil society capital. It's essential that Muslims in America be engaged in the political arena, in the social arena, in the human rights arena. Because if we do not change the levers of what are moving the world forward in a direction that is certainly not the direction that God is asking us to go. So my bigger message is that we have to stay engaged. And that means supporting an organization that is working to try to empower our community. And so we're asking for you to increase your level of support so we can do more work. Since we hired Haley as our civil rights attorney, the output of our Cleveland office in terms of helping cases has been dramatic. We can do so much more with staff, and that's very important that you help in that respect. Now, we want to be able to continue these programs, and here, as you see, if you look in your program booklet, and I hope all of you will take that, there's literally a laundry list of activities that we are doing on your behalf. I just would like to highlight one or two of those.